I'm also hearing a lot of comments from the chief that also says, as he just said right now, I don't have that information in front of me. And from my observations of those hearings was that that was said a lot, and that they did not come prepared, very well prepared for the meeting, for the hearing, for that testimony. And so, as I've said in the past, Officer DeFina was charged with incompetence, among other things, and yet what I saw there during those meetings was that he was very competent, whereas the department did not do a very good job of pleading their case. I do want to now state that based upon your opinion that the grievant was relieved and of his personnel files of those documents and of those grievances, I'm now also wondering why, if there's any consideration, any future considerations for any ramifications or punishment for the people who failed to prove that case, and in what you found in that testimony was also incompetence on that end, and if there's any, who's going to be written up for those kinds of actions as well, for failing to do their job as well. For someone to allegedly take their hands and rub and go around an officer's neck and say, if it depends on how you answer this question, depends on how I twist. To me, that is blatant harassment and a hostile workplace environment. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Just for the public session, I can tell you that Lieutenant Klein did file a complaint, reference that information that was given in that hearing, and that will go to IA to be vetted out.
Okay. Anyone else here wishing to speak?
I'd just like to voice my one opinion that I asked straight up law questions about this town and our school, and he would not answer those questions, yet he was provided the forum here to defend himself and the department, and I just don't feel that that's public input. You've said yourself, Chairperson, that it's not a back and forth,
right,
and the direct questions that can be answered will. I asked a question about whether that sexting thing was a felony, and I would expect the chief of police to know whether that rose to the level of felony. And his choosing not to answer, we're having choosing which questions we're going to answer. And
I'm going to stop you right
Let me just finish one thing. I would just like to say, he has brought up in a meeting before that he will not answer my questions. And he has pointed me out as a person, and it was proven here tonight, he did not answer one of my questions. Thank you, and I will.
Yes, we're not going to get argumentative here this evening, and we're not going to go into this back and forth. That's not what the meeting is about. As far as public input, people are allowed to come in and make statements, but I think we have to be very, very careful when we make those statements where we're going with them. And I think the last time when we did in September, the other hearing, that I said to folks that we're not coming here to rehash the whole thing. The commission has made their decision, and the commission will put out their decision in a written form, but we are not going to come back and rehash it over and over again. It's going to be done, okay?
With all due respect to the chair, the chief indicated that he did not want to, he was not going to answer questions about the DeFina grievance.
That's true. That's what he said.
Okay. Yet he opened the door to discuss things that happened at the DeFina grievance. He went so far as to even state publicly that there's a complaint. I don't think when it comes to public input, that's what it's for. It's public input. They have the public to give the input to the commission and say what they want to say. However, I don't think that you can have it both ways and say, I'm not going to answer questions, but yet I'm going to give information.
I guess what I was referring to is the past practice, if you want to call it, from the September meeting, that when questions were asked about the hearing, whether or not we were going to entertain them in this forum, and we said we were not, and I was basing myself on that.
And I understand that, but the chief, if this is a public forum and it's public input at this time, I don't feel that if we're going to do past practice, I don't feel that the chief should be allowed to give information during that public input session. The 5 minutes that the person has. And I take notice of what Mr. Pearl has said, that, you know, it seems to be a one-way street, but I think the chief opened the door by making responses that were directly related to the Defina grievance hearing that we had in public. So,
Okay.
you know,